Representative Learned, you're recognized in debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Leader. I heard this bill in every committee stop. I've heard all the arguments on both sides of this bill. And we all know that of all the people concerned about the issue, a very small percentage will ever pick up the phone and write us, their legislators. And to date, I've received over 14,000 emails on HB 1. All but 6 of them were in opposition. I heard 185 people testify in the 3 committees. Only 4 of them supported this bill. This bill might be the first in the history of the Florida House to unite abortion providers with Planned Parenthood. This has united self-described socialists with police chiefs, Trump rioters with Black Lives Matter protesters, all in opposition. I want to share part of a letter I received on this bill. HB 1 is unnecessary to protect public safety. It will pit communities against police.
Representative Lerner, would you mind summarizing what it says in the letter? You're recognized.
Speaker. It would pit communities against police and undermine the important work law enforcement is doing to rebuild communities of trust. And that was from a current and former law enforcement officials, the very people this bill is supposed to help by giving additional tools to help hold perpetrators accountable. There is a mistrust in our institutions that comes from bills like this. Floridians from all walks of life and both ends of the political spectrum have been calling our offices and testifying before committees against this bill. And while all of our inboxes were clogged in opposition to HB 1, we have also received thousands of messages in support of efforts to help our struggling local businesses, fix our broken unemployment system, and get our kids back to school. Instead of hearing from them and acting on their concerns, we have spent valuable times on this divisive bill. I do believe, and the bill sponsor and I have said this many times, I do believe we all want the same thing here. Safe streets, peaceful expressions of our First Amendment liberties, and a preservation of our constitutional rights. I joined the U.S. military not long after 9/11. I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Now, I don't agree with just about anything the insurrectionists who stormed our nation's capital want, but I took an oath to fight and potentially die for their right to do so. This bill goes too far in its reining in of our freedom of speech and expression. It is too broad by not discerning between agitators and innocent attendees, and it is redundant in that we already have plenty of laws on the books to prosecute the bad actors. Under this bill, the Boston Tea Party would have been illegal. Suffragists would not have gotten us the 19th Amendment, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wouldn't have been able to march on Selma. This bill isn't helping families who've lost a loved one to COVID-19, saving a small business by delivering relief when they need it most, or getting our kids back on track. And beyond that, this bill does not deliver on our most solemn oath to uphold the Constitution. So I ask, what are we doing here? We are all, every one of us here, united against rioting. If you break the law, you go to jail, period. That's the law today, and nobody's trying to change that. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't need to be a lawyer to be able to understand what the Constitution says. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, or the press, or the right for the people to peaceably to assemble. Now, I have sat on all 3 committees that heard this bill, and I feel confident summarizing our disagreements over this to the phrase acting with common intent. And the interpretation of that language that expands the definition of a rioter to everyone in a crowd, regardless of their own individual behavior. And I spoke to the bill sponsor about this in our last committee. And the bill, we've talked at length about this. And it is just simply a misinterpretation and a disagreement over that interpretation between us, and I believe between our two parties. But here's the thing. If we have different interpretations, then judges, state's attorneys, and police on the street will have different interpretations as well. It is our duty to iron out those here now in the legislature before voting on this and making it the law of the land. Why are we punishing the perpetrators for the crowd size instead of their own individual actions? Our system of justice is centered on being responsible for your own actions. But under this bill, I can be charged by up to 15 years in prison for the actions of another. That's not right, and it's not American. HB 1 is a giant distraction from the issues that truly matter. This bill does nothing to deliver the meaningful COVID-19 relief, improve education for our kids, or make healthcare more affordable. Instead, we are spending precious time debating a bill designed to divide us in an already divisive enough time. As I said, I do believe, and I truly do believe, we all want the same thing here. Safe streets, peaceful expression of our First Amendment liberties, and our preservation of our constitutional rights. But all you have to do is listen to this debate to know that this bill does not unite us, it divides us. And this chapter in our politics has to end. We must come together and get back to work for the people. If you want to promote peace in our streets, then I urge you to listen to what the protesters are asking for. They want an end of the violence, like you. They want freedoms and opportunities for their families, like you. They want to live, work, and play equally and fairly, like you. Let's do that. Let's pass those laws. Let's end this division and get back to work for the people. Please join me in voting against this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative